Good afternoon, everyone. Welcome to NEOS Academy. Today's Academy is going to be NEOS 101. We're going to talk about the day-to-day usage of NEOS. We'll talk about logging in to NEOS and using 2FA, creating intakes, transitioning them to a cases. The case folder tour will teach you guys how to effectively search for cases, sending communications internally and externally, measuring your checklist, generating documents, and then we'll have some troubleshooting, and then we'll round out with knowledge base. I'm Pam Hodge. I'm the business consultant in the professional services department. I have Dawn Rowan from our support team and QA. And then we have Miss Raina, who is one of our customer engineers. All right. So we're going to get started here today. All right, so we're going to talk about how to log into NEOS effectively. So I'm going to log out of NEOS itself. And when you come into NEOS each day, you're going to see this screen. I have mine as a favorite, so you can go to app.neos-cloud.com. And once you do that, you can add it as a favorite by hitting the star button. When you come in each day, it's going to ask you for your company ID, your username or password, your username or email, and your password. So your company ID is going to be set by your admin. Your username or email, you would type in your email address, and then you're going to type in your password, and then hit sign in. When you sign in, it's going to bring you to your main screen. So that is the first way you can sign in to NEOS. Additionally, I'm going to sign back out, and you'll always want to remember to sign out of NEOS every day. So when we do maintenance releases or big releases, you get the most updated information. The next way you can sign into NEOS is through Microsoft. So if your firm has SSO turned on, where you would hit the sign in with Microsoft, it is going to give you a pop-up. It's going to ask you to sign in to your email. It's going to ask you for your password. Here, we have two-factor turned on. So if your firm has two-factor turned on, you will have to download the Microsoft Authenticator app. When that happens, you're going to get a pop-up on your phone that's going to ask you for this code. You can say don't ask for 30 days. Once you approve it on your device, it is going to approve this. It's going to ask you if you want to stay signed in. You're going to say yes. And then it's going to take you here to your company ID. A lot of people are like, well, why does it always ask for my company ID? To ensure you're logging into the right NEOS database. All right. Now, once you get logged in, we're going to go over some troubleshooting. So why are we going to start with troubleshooting? We're going to start there. That way, questions along the way, things that we anticipate that can come up for different firms and stuff like that along the way. So Ms. Dawn from our support team is going to take over. So I'm going to stop share, and then we're going to let Ms. Dawn pop in here and take over.
Hello, everybody. Bear with me a minute here. I'm going to share my screen as soon as it decides it's going to share. All right, so there are a couple of different things that you can do for troubleshooting, and these can be anywhere from a change that you made not saving to a document not appearing in your drop-down lists on your Documents tab or notes missing. So the first thing that I'm going to cover with you is how to clear your browser cache. So typically, this is going to come into effect if you notice that. So if you're on the case tab and you make a change and you hit save and it doesn't save it, your browser cache can sometimes hold on to information that will prevent that save from changing. So it's going to be a little bit different depending on what browser you're at or you're utilizing. I'm currently in Chrome. This will be in the same spot. So this little button that's right here to the left of the web browser address, if you click on that, go to cookies and site data. and then manage on device site data. If you click this here, you'll notice that I have a couple of different ones that say Neos. You would click your trash can next to both of them and click on done. You will have to sign back in once that's done. So once you clear them, you sign back in, and then your information should reappear. If it does not, then you'd want to reach out to support. Um, Sometimes you will be met with an individual user who tries to access a document or calendar events and they can't. That is typically caused by your Office 365 connection being disconnected. Typically, this happens when you have a password reset or if your IT enforces two-factor authentication. So any change that could be made to your Microsoft account will cause this to disconnect. Even if it says it's connected, you will need to reconnect. So all you're going to do is click your X button and then sign back in. I'll show you what that looks like. So you would click that, you would click on continue. It's going to pop up a box with the information that you have there. I'm going to have to sign back in here. So once it signs it in on your phone, it's again going to give you this box. You can tell it yes or no. That's entirely up to you. I'm going to tell it yes, so it keeps me signed in. It's going to reconnect, and then you would want to go back to your case and into your documents, and then try opening your document again. There's not a whole lot in this one. I put this in here for testing purposes, just to see if it works. Now, if it's the entire firm that's experiencing issues with opening documentations, you're going to want to get with your administrator to go in and check your OneDrive integration to make sure it's connected to the correct admin account, and the Office 365 to make sure, again, it's connected to the correct account. And that's if it's everybody. If it's just one user, usually it's this causing the issue or it's a cache. Now, sometimes you'll be working in a case and you'll notice that some of your documents are missing. Everybody else can see them, but you can't, but there's nothing there. Typically, that means that there is a filter set. Now, these filters can be the search bar, and then there are a lot of other options that can be set in here. You would want to clear your filters out. And typically that will bring any missing notes or documents back. You may also notice some of the filters in the value tab. There are not as many in here. And of course, I have a case that doesn't have any. But if you're selecting a specific value code, it would filter it down to that. And again, you would clear filters. So those are all the basic troubleshooting steps that you can do on your own if information is not saving correctly, or if you're missing information, unable to open documents, or missing notes or documents. And I am going to give it back to you, Pam.
Thanks, Don. All right, so I am going to share again, and we're going to dive right in. There is one thing that I did want to bring up to everybody at the end of Don's training. If I log out of Neos again, so if I forget what my password is, when I go here to the screen, I can hit forget password. When I click this, it's going to ask me what my email address is and what my company ID is. Once I hit continue, it is going to send an email that's associated with my 365 account. So Don was just talking about making sure your 365 is attached. It will send me an email to reset my password. I will get a prompt to create a new password, and then I can log right back into Neos. All right. Everybody always says, you guys don't have technical problems. Have them all the time. Sometimes they're user reference, and then log in. Okay. All right. So we're going to talk about how to find cases. So when you log into Neos, you're going to come to my dashboards. Your dashboards are going to be able to show you your checklists, your messages, and your appointments. But if I want to go and find a case, I go up here and I select in the search. When I select here, it's going to show me the most recent cases that I've been on. If I wanted to go to a case that I had recently went on, I can select that, verify it's the case that I want, and double click. And when I double click, it's going to take me to the case itself. Now, you have multiple options. So under the drop down, I have all name, AKA, so social security number, the case number, alternate case number, case name, email, ID, phone number. So I can type in any of this information. So if I was like, hey, I remember somebody's phone number or somebody called me on my caller ID and I'm not sure who it is, I can say any number, type in the number itself, and hit enter. When I hit enter, it is going to look for that number, or I can type in a number that I'm familiar with to find their case and then hit enter. It's going to show you all cases that have this phone number associated with it. If I look down here, it says I have 3 cases and I have 1 intake. The briefcase is going to show your cases. When you hit select that, it's going to give you all of your cases. If I select the thing that looks like a piece of paper, it's going to show me that's an intake. So I select that. I can double click on the case that I want to go into. And when I double click, it is going to take me to the case. When you go to the case, it's going to always take you to the case tab when you're logging into each of the cases itself. All right. When we're here, we have this main toolbar. This is our global toolbar. If I was to hit the top, it's going to show me all of my dashboards. Again, it's going to always take you back to my Neos Today. Why does it always take me to Neos Today? Because that is the first dashboard that I have in this list. I can drag a different dashboard over to come first. And when I do that, it would reset these and it will always take me to whatever first dashboard that I have. All right. When I am here, we have browse cases. When I select this, it's going to give me a list of all the cases that I have in my system. If I have any filters turned on, I can search by a person's name, if it's our client. If I'm specifically looking for cases that I'm associated with, I can choose my name. And when I do that, it's going to filter out my case list to my name. I can use my class codes. I can say only specific case types. Here, I have it filtered to only open cases, but I can hit the X key and it's going to show me open and closed cases. When I hit the drop down, it's going to give me everything. All right. Next, we have browse documents. This is where you can see all the documents in your entire database. It's going to give you a view of every single document. It's going to be in date order. I have it where it's going to show me the newest document all the way to the oldest. When I'm looking here, I can see the name of the document, the case type, the document type, the entry date. Here, if I hit these 3 dots here, I can choose what columns I want to see. So if I go down here to columns, this is a list of all the columns I can see. And if I want to, get rid of some of them, I just uncheck them. And as I'm unchecking them, you notice that they go away from my screen. Also with this, if I want this in different orders, I can say, hey, I want the document date first. I can select on that column, drag it all the way over and drop it. And when I drop it, it's going to put it in that order. So it's going to give me the order of what I want to see. Next, we have our address book. This is our global address book. So it's going to show you everything in your system. I'm going to go here to filters. When I hit this filter, I can say, I want to see any of this information. If I want to reset, I hit select all. If I'm specifically looking for just say our client, I can just say client. And then as soon as I do that, I hit apply. When I hit apply, if you notice, up here, it turns the filters blue and it's going to tell you you have 1 filter on. You can go here and reset it and it's going to take that filter off. You hit apply. And once you hit apply, that filter turns black. Now, as we're doing this, notice I have State Farm here. So it's only filtering on the name State Farm. But if I get rid of State Farm, it's going to show me everything in my system. Your next is open calendar. This is where you get to see all of the calendars. So when you're looking at calendars in general, it's only going to show you by default yours. And I'm going to remove some of these calendars so we get to see things a little bit differently. And as I remove them, notice that they move away from each of these. This is the same view that you guys see in Outlook. I can say, hey, just show me today. When I show today, it's going to show me today's view, and it's going to show 3 separate calendars. When I'm looking at this, I can have my split view like this, or I can commingle it all together. If I commingle it all together, you're like, okay, who's going to be doing what, and how do I know what's here? And it's all based off color. The colors here are the colors over here. If I want to see something else, I can hit the plus key. When I hit the plus key, it's going to give me a list of everybody's calendars that I can see. And if I choose other people to add to my list and I hit save, it's going to add them, those columns as well. But if you notice up here, I have X keys. What does that mean? That means that I do not have permission to see these people's calendars. So I can try to pull them in here, but I'm not going to see them because I do not have permissions, whether it's in Neos or from Outlook. I don't have permission to see their calendars. Next is checklist. The checklist is going to show you every single checklist that is assigned to anyone. So it's going to be a complete checklist for everything that's in the system. It will show you the date orders and things like that. I can go up here and say, hey, show who's assigned to the items and select their name. And it's going to filter this. I can actually choose my date ranges if I want to see, hey, everything that's due from November 1st until December 31st. And I hit OK. It's only going to show me dates there. Notice when I select that, nothing happened because I have to go over here and hit apply. Once I hit apply, then it's going to update my view to show me everything due from November 1st to December 31st. I can say, hey, only show me open checklist items. And once I hit apply, it keeps taking you further on down. Next, we have browse intakes. This is where you can see all intakes in the system. Again, you have the same filters, primary staff or stages. You have our messages. So messages from in and out of the company. This is where you would see all of your messages. It's very similar to your Outlook inbox, where you have an inbox, things that you've sent, anything that you may have deleted, or anything that you have archived. Next is reports. This is where you're going to see all the reports that are available to the firm. You can go under all. If you're here, you can start typing in a keyword. Once you start typing a keyword, it's going to filter out your view for any of the reports that have this in there. If I want to make something my favorite, I just hit my star. When I hit my star, it's going to add it to my favorite group. So if I go over here and select favorites, it's going to show all of my reports that I favor. If I'm specifically looking for a report regarding checklist, I can say, hey, there's a report category called checklist. I select on checklist, and it's going to give me all of my options of pre-built and advanced search reports that's available to the firm. Next is the communication center. So if your firm uses RingCentral or has premium texting, this is where you were going to see all of the all of the phone calls that have come in and out of the office. Anything that has an arrow up means that's outgoing. Anything that has an arrow coming down means everything that's coming in. When you're here, it's going to tell you who the staff person is, what case it's associated to. So you're going to see all that information. Same thing with text messages. If I go over here, it's going to show all text messages in and out. When you get over here, if you notice that any that had an assigned to, what this means is somebody sent a text message in, the system cannot identify who is associated with this. So when I hit the plus key for assign, I get to go choose somebody's name to associate with this. So I will type in the person's name and hit search. When I hit search, it's going to find the person's name in the system. Once I select that, it's going to say, do you want to add this phone number? If I say add, it's going to add that phone number to this person. And then here I get to choose what cases it's related to. So I'm going to associate it with my case. And then once I hit save, it is going to update that says, hey, this phone number is one that Pam uses and it's associated with this case. The next is our accounting tab. This is where if you guys are using QuickBooks, SDK, or online, any check request, it's going to show all your checks. When you're looking at this, it's going to show that it's pending or if it's been posted to QuickBooks. It's going to talk about your deposits, the names. It will show all the names in Neos that are linked to the vendor names and QuickBooks. It's going to show you all of your value items that would be on your value tab. If your firm tracks time, it will show all of your time entries. When it comes to invoices, if you create invoices, it's going to show you all of your invoices and whether they're due, draft, overdue, or paid. And as we've been going through each one of these different options, you do have each of the filters for company, their status, if you're looking for a specific case. And as always, if you go under more, you have more options where you can filter these down. And then, of course, the last but not least is our settings gear bar. And this is where you get to the admin side. Down here at the bottom, if your firm has it turned on, you will have a little icon where you can actually go to your staff profile. If I select on my staff profile, this is where I would get to see information about who I am. This is where you would connect your 365. You definitely want to make sure that you have your information put in here. That way it pulls into your documents that you create. All right. So I'm going to go here. And when I hit this drop down here, if you notice, I've been clicking on a lot of things. As I click on items, as I'm working on cases and things like that, it's going to create each one of these little tabs. When you get to about 15, 20 of these little tabs, your experience in the environment may kind of slow down. You have to think about, if you were on the internet and you had 20 different tabs, your experience on the internet is going to go down. It's that same concept here. If I want to close everything at one time, if I hit the caret and I can say close all tabs, and it is going to close all my tabs here, and it's going to give me a fresh, and then all my tabs are gone. I can go back up here again, and let's get rid of my filters. I'm going to go back on all. When I hit this, I can see the cases, and I'm going to double click and I can go right back to my case. All right. So if you're a firm that creates intakes when a new prospect calls, you have a couple of options. You can go to the intakes here and go here and hit create new intake. Or if you're like working on a case and somebody calls and you need to create an intake, you don't have to go to this intake and create here. You can go up here to hit create and say intake. When you go here to hit create intake, it's going to give you the same screen either place you go. So depending on if I was working on intakes, I'd probably have my intake screen up and use the new intake. If I was working on a case and somebody called, I would hit the create. So I have that flexibility of how my workflow is. When you get here, you can choose your case type. So here, when you hit this drop down, it's going to show you all of the case types that are available to you in your environment. You're going to choose what your case type is. Once you choose your case type, you would choose who the intake primary staff is. And then you go in here and you enter your information. Now, the intake that you guys may be seeing on my screen is different than what you have in your environment. Just know that you do have abilities to customize your intakes based off of what the firm needs. You can add in paragraphs to give people instructions, and you can set this up whatever way you want. As we're moving down, I would answer all the questions, and then here where I get to the person's name. So I'm going to type in the person's name to create my new intake. As I'm sitting here typing and I hit my tab after I type in my last name, over here, you're going to see an automatic conflict check. Here, you get to determine, do I want to use any of these records? If I do, I would say use this record. But let's just say that the person I'm creating is not the same person, it's somebody new. I can just continue on and add the information in my intake. But if this is the person I want, I can say use this record. And when I say use the record, it is going to populate all the information into my intake that's associated with that contact record. Once you complete your intake, you get this save button. This save button does not turn blue until you have chosen your case type, the person that is responsible for the intake, and at least one party record. Once you choose that, you're going to hit save. When you hit save, if your case is set up with primary checklists and all that, you have all these options over here. So if I go to my checklist, if your primary checklist is set up to tell the person to do things, that's going to populate. I still have the options to create notes and save email. I have the case calendar where if I need to set up a appointment for the attorney or the investigator, I can go to my case calendar. I hit new event. When I hit new event, this is the same screen as if I was on a case. I go in here and I put in the date and time of the appointment. I can set up my reminders. It's going to, by default, it's going to choose me as the organizer. I can choose what type of appointment it is, who's going to be attending the appointment. And if I'm choosing people within the company, once I start typing in, it's going to give me a list of everybody that has a staff profile. I can choose that. And then if I am inviting somebody from the outside, I could actually go in here and type in somebody from the outside by typing in their email address. And when I do that, it's going to populate that. I can choose my location and the status of the appointment. And then I go in here and put my notes about the appointment. Once I hit save, it is going to save this on my case calendar and my intake, but it will also push that appointment to my Outlook calendar. Okay. Up here, you have stages and statuses. This is set up by your admin. So if you are saying, hey, this is the status is going to be lead. These are all of your options based off of what's set up in your system. Once you have decided that either you want to take the case or not, if you're taking the case, you'll come here to, you would choose your status, and then here you're going to go to closed. So what does that mean? You're closing the intake out, but you want it to be created into a case. So to ensure that your reports are accurate, you want to make sure that you choose your status to case because you are creating the case. Once I do that, I get my data saved properly. And now I can hit my three dots. When I hit my three dots, I want to make it as a case. Once I hit the three dots and say make a case, it's going to say, do you want to convert this intake into a case? If so, you want to choose the status. So here I'm going to say it's going to be a case, and then who is going to be assigned to it. Just because I'm assigned to the intake here does not mean I would be the person handling the case, but so I get the option of choosing anybody that is in our company. Once I select that, I hit done. So everything that I did in the intake, all the information that I put into the intake, it is going to create a new case for me. When I create the new case, it's going to create the case for me. So if you notice, I have all the same options that I do for any other case. So this leads us into talking about the different tabs that you have when you come into a case. Once you're in a case, you have this header. This header can be set up specific by your admin staff to pull in the relevant information that you guys need to see for your cases. But you have the activity feed. The activity feed is going to give you a list of everything that has transpired from the intake all the way pulling into the case. As you're looking at this, it's going to tell you, hey, it was migrated to a case on this day at this time by this person. And if you have your checklist set up to follow your phases, you will see the phases as each phase concludes. You have two views. You have the timeline view where you get to see the list. If I was to single select, it's going to give me more information. Or if you like the grid staff, the grid view, you can see the grid view. When I'm in the grid view, if I hit the caret, it's going to give me that additional information that you saw when you were on the timeline. When I am here, I do have the options to see everybody, or if I only want to see a specific person, I find their name, select their name, and it's going to say, hey, this is all stuff that Pam did. All right, to get rid of my filter, I just hit the X key and then everything comes back full circle. Over here at the top, I have expand all, collapse all. If I say expand all, it's going to give me this view where each of the items are already expanded. And then if I hit collapse all, it just pulls everything back in. Very similar to our notes tab. You do have the same options of other ones where you go here to the columns and it will give you the columns that you can see in your view. If I go over to party, the parties tab is going to show all the parties affiliated with your case. So you're going to see your client and anybody who is opposite or opposing your client that's associated with the case. Now, you would want to include anybody that you would include on a caption. So, the plaintiff and all the defendants. If I'm in this view, when I go up here, if I hit the X key, it's going to give me a list of everybody that's associated with my case. Once I open it, if I decide that I need to add additional party, I want to be in this screen, I can hit hit the plus key for new party. When you come here, it will always force you to search. So you can type in the person's name. Once you start typing in their name and you hit enter, it's going to show all Eric's that's in your system. If the person I'm looking for is not here, I would hit new party. When I hit new party, it's going to ask you, is it a person? If it's yes, it's going to give you a view for a person. So when I say yes here, it's going to, by default, give you each of the sections. So I can go here and type in, type in the first name and then type in last name and then hit save. So that is going to add your other parties. You fill in all the information. If it's your client, you would hit my client. The two things that you need to have in order for this save button to turn blue, the person's name and what their role is in your case. When you hit this drop down, it is going to give you a list of all the roles that you have in your system. Once you choose that role, notice that the buttons turns blue. Once the button turns blue, you hit save and it's going to add that party to your case. Here, if you go back up here, you can hit the X key and now it's going to give you the list view. Next, we have the context tab. The context tab is going to give you a list of all the contacts associated with your case. So if you put people on the party tab, the counsel tab, the insurance tab, it is going to build this up. So as we're going through each of these tabs, we'll come back at the end so you get to see how things were built out. Next is the case tab. The case tab is going to give you all that information, your case number, the date of accident, when it was opened, any of your referral information. If your firm has internal file numbers, you can add those here. You will add in the date of incident. And if you notice, as I'm selecting, I am just selecting on each one of these items, and it's giving me options to add the information. Or I can hit my keyboard and tab through each one of these. If I'm tabbing, so if I start here and I tab, it's going to go down the list and then it goes to the next column. So each column will go down, and then over. Once I fill in all the information, I hit save. When I hit save, it is going to update the information on this list. If I was to go back over here to the activity feed, everything that I'm doing, Neos is capturing. So I updated the case. It's going to tell you that I updated the date of accident. All right. Next, we have companion cases. Companion cases will allow you to companion two groups together. So if you are representing a family in an automobile accident and you want each person to have their own case, you can open each case separately and then come here and add the group. So you can add the group based off of your criteria. So if you do it by the person's last name and you're here, if you go to hit the plus key, it's going to tell you that, hey, the Hodge group already exists. So you're just like, okay, I need to find my Hodge group. I can scroll. Once I find it, I can select on it, and it's going to give me a list of everybody that's associated with that. And then I hit save. When I hit save, it's going to add my group here. And then the cases that were already affiliated would be here, and then it's going to show you the new case. If I wanted to go to one of these other cases, I can double click on it. When I double click on the case, it's going to take me to the case. And then if I was to go to companion cases, it's going to give me that same list. All right. Notice as I'm doing things, my little tabs up here keep building. If I want to close each one of these out, I can. That way we can go back to where we started. All right. Next is checklist. Well, your checklists are built based off of your primary checklist. So as you're opening up cases, it's going to automatically put these things on your list to do. When you're here to mark something completed, here you could hit this little checkbox here, and it's going to say, hey, this is a repeating item. If you have a checklist set up to repeat and you want it to automatically reset the due date, you would say yes. So it's going to update the due date to 1/3 of 2026 from today's date. To refresh your checklist, you hit refresh, and it's going to refresh it here. If you needed to add a new item, you can go here and hit new task. You can choose the task code. Once you choose the task code, you can select and hit save. When you hit save, it's going to give you this pop-up. You're going to assign it to whoever. You can ensure that the due date's correct and add any additional information to this item. Once you do that, it's going to update your checklist. The case calendar, just like we did in the intake, anything that I need to see on my calendar, I have Outlook events, archived, and all events. Outlook events is going to show you any Outlook item that you have sent to Outlook that is a future date. Archived items will be canceled or already completed. And then all events are going to show you everything in date order. You have the same options where you hit the new event and you fill in all the information and then hit save. Next, we have notes and emails. Under the notes and emails tab, this is where you're going to keep all of your case notes. And this is how you will file all of your emails directly into Neos from Outlook. As we're looking at this, if I go here and say new note, it's going to give me this pop-up. I type in my note. By default, it's going to say general. I need to choose my topic. I can choose a subject, but it's not necessary. And then if I needed to attach any documents, I can add attachment here. When I hit add attachment, it is going to look at all of the documents that are in my system. If this is the document I select, I hit attach, it is going to add that document to my note. If I wanted to call somebody out in this note, if I say at and start typing in somebody's name, it's going to allow me to choose somebody's name. And then once I close this, it's going to send the note to them. They will get a notification up in here in the notification bells, and it's going to show them any notes that they've been called out in. If I wanted to create a new email, I hit new email. When I hit new email, and I hit this drop down, it's going to say, hey, any contact in my case that have an email associated with it. Or if I hit the drop down and go to case staff, I can choose somebody to send this to. If I'm sending this to somebody where they're not affiliated with my case, as long as I know what their email address is, I'm able to type in their email address. And as I'm typing in down below, it's going to say, hey, this is a custom value. So once I select that and I tab over, it is going to add Dawn to this too. Now I can go in here and add whatever I want into my email. If I hit add attachment here, again, it's going to show me all of my documents related to my case. I can select one or multiple. Once I hit attach, it is going to attach it as a PDF. So if the document is already a PDF and you don't want it to duplicate it, you can say original. But if your document is Word and you want Neos to automatically convert it to a PDF and attach it to your case, leave it as PDF. So what happens is once I hit send, it is going to send that email out. If I wanted to make some additional modifications or I wanted to see what it was going to look in Outlook, I can hit this drop down and say open in Outlook. When I say open in Outlook, it is going to open my 365 account online. And when it opens up my 365 account online, if I have not signed in, it's going to prompt me to sign in. Once I sign in, it will create that email for me. And then here is my two-factor authentication again. So I'm going to type in the number. And now it's going to let me in. And then it took everything that would have been from there. It added people. It's going to give me my body and it attached my document. At this point, it's just a regular Outlook email. It's just showing you the multiple options that you have. All right. And then when you're looking at this is going to give you all notes in date order. You have, if you select general, it's going to allow you to see all of your general notes. If you select emails, it's going to show you all of your emails. You have phone calls, text messages, any value entries. And then if you're using our AI, you have Neos AI chat. The additional tabs that you have here is your insurance, negotiation, counsel. All these are data generation tabs. So when you go here, you'll hit the plus key and you add all the information in. Next, we're going to talk about our case docs. Our case docs tab, this is where you create all of your documents, you house all of your documents. So to create a new document, you come here and you hit generate new. When you hit generate new, it's going to give you a list of all the templates that you have in your system. You're going to select the template that you want to use. It's going to give you a preview over here. And then once you hit next, it is going to give you the information. Here, where it says file name, this is where I can rename my document. These prompts over here are tags that is built into your template that says, hey, what information are we looking for? So I can say, hey, Joe Lawyer is the counsel, I'm the person signing, and it's going to go under the document type correspondence. Once I hit generate document, it is going to generate my document. When I'm in the screen here, you see processing down here. I can, once I get this complete, I can select this and open the document, or I can go up here and open it. I like to open it from here. So here it will open up the Word document. If you want your documents to open up in desktop, here you would say always allow and then hit open Word. Once you open Word, it's going to open up the document in Word for you. And it's opening up on my other screen. Once it opens up, it is just a Word document and it would be formatted based off of the information set out in the template that your admin had uploaded. At this point, if I need to make any modifications, any layout changes, it's essentially just a Word document and I can go and make any changes I desire. Once you make the changes, This is going to auto save because the documents are saved in SharePoint. Once I close it, it is going to update my document and it's going to save it right back here. If I want to email one document or multiple documents, I can select all the documents that I want to email and then go to bulk actions. When I go to bulk actions, this is where I can download them, edit them, copy to another case, move to another case. If you have admin permissions to remove or delete the document, you'll have that. Or I can say send with email. When I hit send with email, I get the same box that I did just a few minutes ago to choose who the email is going to. And then I have that same option. Once I choose all that, I hit send and it will send my document or documents to whoever I want it to go to. If you're a firm that has AI, you have all the capabilities to analyze documents. All right. So with the documents here, you have your document types. So your document type here is going to be equal to the sub tab that you guys are seeing up here. So if I want to see all documents that were under correspondence, I can select here and it's going to see all of my documents that have a document type of correspondent. When I'm hitting any of these, if I see this little drop down, these are all the additional document types I have for this specific case. These little sub tabs do not populate unless you have uploaded a document and identified that it needs to go into this specific category. So your tray may not have as many categories as mine, but this is all the different options I have for this case. All right. So next we're going to talk about all of the other tabs that you have available for you. So we have dynamic layouts that was recently released from our product team. If you want more information about dynamic layouts or need assistance setting those up, you can contact our training department to get further training. But the next couple of tabs, we have 10 additional tabs that firms can set up. So we have 5 list tabs. What is a list tab? So if you have a records request tab, a list tab will give you all these individual lists. And then you have 5 flat tabs. So if you have a tab where it's a management tab where it just has data fields on it, that is considered a flat tab. So every firm has 5 list tabs, 5 flat tabs. But with the addition of having these dynamic layouts, you can have additional tabs beyond that. So the way it works now is if you want specific tabs to pop up based off of what's going on with the case, you have the option to build out additional list or flat tabs. And the last thing that I'm going to cover before I give it to Raina to talk about our support portal is the value tab. The value tab is where anything money related is going to go on your value tab. Your value tab is going to truly list out all of your case expenses, all of your liens, all your medical bills, settlements, and everything. To create a value entry here, you're going to go and hit the new value button. When you hit the new value button, you choose what type of value code. So what am I doing? I am entering a case expense, so I'm going to choose case expense. You're going to type in how much the case expense is. If there's a reduction, the party is the party that this case expense is associated with, and then who is the provider. So who are you paying this to? So if I'm paying it to a hospital, I can type in the hospital's name and hit enter, and it's going to give me a list of all hospitals that are identified. I select JFK Hospital, and then I hit save. When I hit save, it is going to create my case expense for $200 to JKF. If you are a firm that is using QuickBooks, you can create your check requests and due to firms from this screen. Here, I can hit the plus key, and if my system's set up for me to request checks, right now you see that it's grayed out, but as soon as I put in the amount up here, it's going to create my check request and my due to firm. So it's a an amount. It's a payment, today's date. It's going to be a debit. It's being paid by us to the provider. And then I can choose how the payment method is. And then any additional references. Once I hit save, it is going to give me a pop-up for me to fill in information for my QuickBooks. And then it is going to create my check request down here. Once I go back here, I will see that I have my check request and my case expense with my check request associated with it. And then I have my due to firm. All right. I know we went over a lot in a very short period of time. If anybody needs additional training, you can always reach out to the training department. Raina will talk about if you want to schedule training. She will go over how to do that when she's going over the changes and things that are coming or came to the support portal. All right, Miss Raina, I'm going to give you a little less time than I normally do, but I was trying to power through that. So I'm going to stop share and I'm going to turn it over to you.
All right. Thank you so much, Pam. And yeah, no, that was a lot to go through. So I'm gonna go ahead and start sharing my screen. Just bear with me one moment, please. All right, so here we are in Neos. This is me on my dashboard screen. Up in the upper right-hand corner is the question mark that I was talking about with the little help tooltip that pops up. When you click on that, this little window will come up. It's actually customized based off of where you are in Neos. So since I'm on the dashboard, you can see there's the My Checklist widget, KB article, knowledge base article. There's the appointments widget, my dashboards, and then we also have links to our video tutorials based again off of where you are in Neos when you click on this question mark button. When you click on that, it will open up in a new tab in your browser, and then it will show you our knowledge base, like all of the knowledge base articles. From here, you see the My Checklist widget, and then there's, links to other articles. You can also navigate through the different categories here. As you expand the arrows and the drop downs, you can see that there are further organizational options here. So you can see, like, we want to go to the accounting tab. We want to we want information on accessing it. Or maybe I'm having issues with deposits. I can click on there and it will show you all of the knowledge base articles regarding deposits. I'm going to go ahead and go back to Neos. I'm going to click out of the X here for a moment. I'm going to open up this case. And just to show you, like, when you're in a case tab, if you have any questions on anything within the case tab, let me try from the value tab. For the value tab, you can see the articles that are listed here have changed from the ones that were showing on my dashboards to the value tab. So you can click on there. And then if these aren't quite the ones that you want, you can definitely sort through and see what else is available. I'm going to go ahead and close out of these real quick. And then back here in Neos, you also see there is the support portal button. If you click on that, that will take you to our support portal. If you are just now accessing it for the first time, this What's New pane will pop out. And you can see all of these different entries from throughout the year. If you don't want to see this, you can just click on What's New. It'll go ahead and, collapse that back over there, and you can see the support portal here. Up here we have our most frequently asked questions, and they link to different knowledge base articles. So you can see building advanced search criteria is a very popular one. Installing the Outlook add-in, Neo software requirements, and more. If you scroll down, you see our service catalog. Here you have access to the knowledge base, again, our ideas and enhancements portals. You can also see the Neos application status page, Neos University for any of the courses that we have there. You can actually go in there and access this. These ones are all free of charge. You have the beginner, advanced, administrator training, as well as Neos AI training. These are a very wonderful tool, especially if you would like to get a little bit more experience and knowledge on Neos and its functionalities. I highly recommend checking these out here. Oh, I closed out of the support portal. My apologies. Let me go ahead and access that again. You can also see the Learning Hub where you can gain access to all of our video tutorials. There's a lot of wonderful things in there. If you, like Pam had said, if there's anything that we touched on during this webinar that you would like to have, a little bit more hands-on training on, go ahead and click on training here. You can go in there and book a training session with one of our very talented and knowledgeable trainers. There's also the release notes, the change log, and then the what's new. Down here, you also see, the Outlook add-in, the Word add-in, QuickBooks Integrator, Team Viewer, and then you also have options to get support. So if you go ahead and click on the Get Support, this is where you can submit a ticket. You can reach out to our lovely, talented, wise support team, and they will reach out and get in touch with you and see what's going on. I believe that's it. Again, thank you guys so much for attending. I'm going to go ahead and stop sharing, and I guess I will pass the mic back over to Pam.
Yeah, like Raina said, thanks everybody for joining us today. We do have a webinar coming up in December, topic to be determined. But we will see everybody in December. If you guys have anything, don't hesitate to reach out to us. And thanks everybody for joining, and have a great weekend. Bye, guys.